Mo, what were the big lessons your team took from its playoff experience last year?
That's a great question. I think there were so many that you can take from going Game 7. One thing that is not always showing up on the court in a stat is the poise and the demeanor and your approach to the game mentally. Because there's so many things that happen within a game that you cannot control. But I think you can control how you respond to what's happening within the game. I think that was a big key piece for us being able to harness our emotions at the right time.
Do you sense that in the way that they're preparing for this series, do you sense that maturity, growth, whatever you want to call it, from having that experience, most of the same group last year?
There's a lot of that there, and adding Corey Joseph, adding KCP, as we're walking off the court just now, that was the conversation Kenny and I just had. It's the other things that are big in these situations. There's going to be shot making, there's going to be foul calls, there's going to be the crowd on a big shot or big make, but how do you control how you respond to that as the key? I think those are so much more important than a lot of the things that we think about.
Jamal, most of it's out of your control, but it's been 15 years since the Magic won a playoff series. How excited are you guys for the opportunity to try to change that?
It's great for the organization. It's great for this community to have an opportunity at that. And I think we talked about it for the last month or so now. It's one game at a time, and these guys have been prepared for that. They understand it. They know exactly what we're working towards, but you start just with one game at a time and focusing on that, playing 48 minutes of Magic basketball.
How do you think your team's gotten out of this couple days of practice?
A level of focus, attention to detail. Each day's been working on a different aspect of what we are going to do offensively, and then what we'll do defensively. Tomorrow we'll get over there, go through some of the full put it all together script, understanding the different scenarios and situations we may see, but being able to do it on the floor there.
What kind of similarities do you maybe see between you guys in Boston?
I think the size of our wings, the versatility of each one of our guys, being able to play multiple positions, both offensively and defensively. I think those are a lot of the similarities. The physicality, I think that they bring to the table. I think those are a lot of similarities that we both possess.
You guys talked a lot about wanting to play quicker in the regular season. Obviously that's concluded now, but you and Boston were the two slowest teams by pace. You guys talk about the possession game a lot. How much stress does that put on every single possession in these games?
It's huge. We talked about just in that Atlanta series alone, other than the last game, the differential was 6 points. And so I think in a game like this with Boston, it's huge because of how many threes they take, how they crash the glass. They're not necessarily trying to play fast, so every possession matters. Can we take care of the basketball more? Can you keep them off the offensive glass? All of those little things are going to come down to it because, again, 6 points within a game is the difference between a free throw and a turnover and a different type of box out that leads to a knockdown three.
Last year, did you feel like there were times in that series where the guys got unnerved by, say, calls or by fans or by the whatever?
I think within any series, teams, there's going to be things that rattle you for a moment. I think that's with any team within the playoffs. I think it's the teams that can bounce back the fastest that give themselves a clear-cut advantage to understand when they have to get back into the moment and not let things that have happened, take over for 3 or 4 possessions.
How critical has Kenny, Corey, how critical has their veteran experience, their leadership been to kind of prepare this group for the series?
They've been great. It's easy to say the things, it's easy to show it on film, but when you have 3 and 4 guys that have been through it and felt what it's like to go on a championship run, you understand exactly what's needed, the poise that you have to have, the attention to detail, the focus on the game plan. All of those things sound great on film and on paper, but when you have guys in your locker room that have lived it and experienced it, there's nothing making up for that.
Coach, go ahead, please. Coach, last year, home court was obviously the premium against the Cavaliers. Going into this one with the Celtics, do you say anything or do anything differently going into Game 1 and Game 2 up there in Boston and try and take one?
you just focus on one game at a time, whatever you need to do stepping on the court. And understand all the circumstances are going to be there. Then you have to play the game to figure out what adjustments you need to make, what looks good, what doesn't look good, what they're doing, they're trying to solve. But again, one game at a time. We've done a great job over this last stretch of playing games on the road, so our guys understand we can walk into any environment and get the job done. But we got to go play this game to see exactly what we'll need to move or change or do anything different.
Given your connection to FSU, is there anything that you can say about the tragic incidents there? Any thoughts you want to share? Anything like that?
Yeah, just finding more information out each time. My thoughts have been on them and the families and the people that have been affected by this. It's tragic. It's a tragic situation. Senseless acts that your heart goes out to those that have been impacted, and that community and our community is impacted by these events. And it goes again back to reminding us the value of the human life and why it's so important to just stay connected and move in the direction of finding love and care for people more than the other way.
Sorry to ask a basketball question after a more important question like that. Aside from Jalen and aside from Mo, how is your team's health heading into game one?
We are fully healthy besides those two.
Coach, in the playoffs, so much spotlight and pressure is put on star players. As a head coach, you're going in with two young guys like Paolo and Franz. How much does it help going into a big playoff series to have two guys with their type of makeup?
Well, their makeup and the experiences that they've had. Obviously Franz has played, in big games internationally as well. With us having the playoff series last year, Paolo, same thing, college, big games. Also walking into the playoff series last year, and then just their mindset moving into it. They're always up for the moment, and I think that's having two great players that are up for the moment says a lot, because they're not going to shy away, and our guys will feed off of that energy that they possess, which is a calm demeanor, knowing exactly how you have to approach the game.
Gary, as you guys prep for Boston, what was the focus of practice today? What were some of the things that your group was dialing in on?
It was just a defensive practice today. Just focusing on how we're going to guard. There's certain actions they have. We didn't really go over plays, but just certain actions that Boston likes to do. And everybody was locked in, and I think we're ready to go. Get ready to catch this flight, go to Boston.
Gary, on that note, how do you guys kind of simulate the offensive top-to-bottom firepower a team like Boston has in practice?
It's hard to simulate in practice, but just understanding their principles, watching the film, and we know what these guys like to do, and just being able to try to take what they want to do away from them.
What did your team learn from last year's playoff experience?
Just how every possession matters. Going to a game 7, it's a possession game, especially in the playoffs. Just being able to be locked in, be focused, because it's going to come down to 2 or 3, a few possessions at a time. So just make sure we locked in at all times.
As a team preparing for this year's playoffs, do you sense a difference in the group? I know it's a lot of the same guys from last year. Do you sense a difference in how you guys are preparing this year compared to last year?
I would just say it's just more familiarity. Last year was a group of guys who really haven't been to the playoffs before, but now it's our second go about it, especially with this group. And I think it's just focus, locked in, but understanding what's in front of us and being able to be locked in and focused and going over the game plan.
Gary, it's mostly out of your guys' control, but it's been 15 years since the Magic have won a playoff series.
Damn.
How excited are you guys to try to change that narrative and go out and get a playoff?
No, that's amazing. Just 15 years is crazy. I didn't even realize that. You know what I'm saying? Because I remember just watching Dwight Howard play in the finals. So I think it'll be cool for us to lock in and try to do something that hasn't been done in 15 years. So I think that's definitely the goal.
Aside from the number of threes they take, do you see similarities in the way their roster is constructed and yours, and the way their team plays and your team plays?
They got, they got a lot of guys on the team, but they got 2 main guys, and we got 2 big dogs on our team as well. So I can see the similarities in that way, and we're just trying to figure out how to knock them off their rhythm. They're the defending champs, so just trying to figure out how we can get them off the floor and continue to the next round.
Gary, last year's series, home court was obviously a premium, going game 7, every home team winning. Going into this one, going up to Boston for the first 2, do you all say anything different? Do you approach it differently, knowing that you got to get one away?
I would say that I think we have a locked-in mindset, but we know what's at stake when we go to Boston. So I mean, it would be great to get one. So I mean, that's our goal. It's great to get two. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get 2 wins. So if it doesn't happen, though, I know everything's still in front of us. We got to come back home, hold it down at home court. But at the end of the day, we know it's at stake, so we want to go out there and we're trying to get 4 wins, just like they're trying to get 4 wins.
Is there extra juice knowing that you're going up against the defending champs in the first round?
I mean, I wouldn't say extra juice. I feel like, you know they're the defending champs, but just trying to, we're trying to win. We're trying to be champs. So at the end of the day, we don't really care who's in front of us. We're trying to lock in, execute, and, come together as a team and try to, like I said, get 4 wins.
How's your role kind of evolved as the season's gone on? It feels like the team's played better in the last month and a half, and everyone's kind of settled into more consistent rules.
No, I think just everybody just gets getting the reps. I mean, we finally got a fully healthy team, so it takes time for us to get a little rhythm. But I think we're just trying to we know what time of year it is. We know it's at stake. We know it's it's postseason basketball. So we're just trying to do whatever we can to get wins, and by any means, no matter how it looks, we just want to get a win.
Thanks, Gary. Well, we're grateful.
Pete, what was the focus of practice today as you guys dial in and get ready to leave for Boston?
I would say defense, just focusing on what we plan to do defensively with just the schemes and how we want to play, how we're going to try to guard them.
How difficult will that be in terms of the amount of shooters they have, the amount of guys they have that can attack?
It presents a pretty good challenge with their personnel, how they play. Obviously, they have a lot of weapons out there, defending champs, so they're going to be ready to play. But I'm confident in what our defense is trying to do, and so I'm excited.
Al, it's obviously mostly out of your guys' control, but it's been 15 years since the Magic have won a playoff series. How excited are you guys to try to change that and get a win up with Boston?
Really excited, trying to get 4 games. It would be everyone here's first time winning a playoff series as well. So that's something that we've been trying to do. That's a goal that we set out to start the year, and it's an opportunity to get it done.
How has preparation for this series been different, or perhaps more comfortable than it was maybe last year when most of you guys were going through this playoff prep for the first time?
It's different because it's a different team, but I think it's a lot of the same. I think it's just a laser focus. Everybody's, you can feel the, build up happening up to Sunday. And so I think, everyone will be ready. I think we just want to make sure, everyone's detailed on what we're trying to do and, what we need to do to get the win.
Paolo, you touched on their offensive firepower, but what sticks out to you or maybe impresses you about their defense as well?
Yeah, they're first in the league in rim protection. So, they're going to make it hard to, get in the paint, get to the rim. They got guys down there that can block shots. They got guards and wings that can switch and, defend the perimeter and defend the rim. So, as good as they are on offense, they also are a very good defensive team too. And that presents another challenge for us offensively of us trying to get clean looks and do what we do on that end.
What lessons did the team learn from last year's playoff experience, if any?
I think we learned that, playoffs is, the momentum is very heavy in the playoffs. You have to be poised. And I think it's much harder to win on the road is what I learned than home.
Paolo, so much pressure in the playoffs put on star players, spotlights on them. Both you and Franz have very level personalities. How much does that help this team to have 2 guys like yourself with your mentalities at the front of the helm?
I think we're both really calm and collected, especially during the week of practice and stuff like that. But I think once the game starts, we'll be locked in, with a lot of energy, to get going. But I think just pumping your teammates with confidence. If you give off that vibe, I think everyone else picks up on it and gets guys more acclimated. Like I said, playing on the road in the playoffs can be tough. Some of these guys, it's their first time getting playoff minutes, so just want to help them be able to deal with some of that.
As you guys have prepared for the playoffs, what kind of impact has Kenny had? And him and Gary both been on deep playoff runs, but Kenny's won a couple of championships. How impactful has his voice been in the preparation for these first 2 games?
He's been good. I think he's just been harping on some of the main things, just us being locked in on the details, limited mistakes. I think those are his two biggest things. And, he's right. Playoffs, less room for error. And we got to be sharp on, what we're trying to do.
It's kind of a slow start for you and Franz in the last game, but Cole came in and provided a spark for you. How beneficial is it to know that you guys have a deep bench that can come in and kind of provide a spark when you need it?
Oh yeah, I mean, we're gonna need that for sure. Teams keying in on me, keying in on Franz. Other guys are gonna have to step up, make shots, make big plays, and that's what they did in the playing game. So, we're definitely gonna need that this series.
Paolo, you talked about playing on the road, how hard it is to win. Going into the situation again, knowing you have to win on the road, and last year home court was definitely a priority. Do you approach it differently going into this one with Boston, knowing you got to get one on the road?
Yeah, I mean, you gotta get ready for war. Honestly, I think, like I said, winning on the road. I think last year we felt that difference of how we played at home versus how we played on the road, and how much tougher it is. No one's cheering for you on the road. Every time you score, it's quiet, and you kind of have to, create that energy through your team and through your bench and in the locker room. So I think that's something we learned last year, and hopefully, we can come out, with more energy and more fire to get a win on the road.
Do you see similarities, whether it's in personnel, roster construction, play style between you guys and Boston?
No, not really.
Why?
You said why?
Yeah. A lot of people have said there are similarities in terms of roster construction.
I'd be interested to know why they say that. I think we are a different team than them. I think we kind of have a lot different play style than them on both sides of the ball. So, yeah, I'm not sure why anyone would say that.
Everybody good?
Yes, sir.